Please excuse that light if it feels like it's flickering, like now. What's up, you guys? So today I'm going to be reviewing my entire Hammond collection for today's video. And we're going to go in order by wave and what I got first. So let me just set things up real quick. Ooh, some crisp detail. Hammond collection time. Whatever. So, about a year ago, I posted on Instagram, which I never promote on here. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's thedinoboy.yt. But anyways, about a year ago, I posted my entire Hammond collection, which only consisted of 5 figures at the time, as the Hammond collection had released that year. And by that year, I mean like last year. So I'm making this video in honor of my 1 year, in honor of that post being a year old. So, yeah. So this is why I'm making this video, and now I'm going to be reviewing my collection, and starting off with Wave 1. Now, initially, whenever the Hammond collection was announced at around like February of 2022, I was quite fond of it. Before the Hammond collection, we had the Amber collection, which consisted of 6-inch scale figures of some of the dinosaurs and some of the humans as well. It mostly consisted of raptors because they were going for like the smaller dinosaurs. Well, the ones that were kind of like man-sized-ish, I guess. But eventually, at around like 2021, the line had been discontinued after it released its final figures, which would be the JP3 male raptor and the baby T-Rex, along with a couple of humans. I think one of them was Alan Grant, and maybe a re-release of Ian Malcolm. Although, I can't necessarily remember the humans for sure. Hell, I don't even know if the Amber JP3 Raptor and Junior were the final ones. But anyway, so yeah, basically all the Raptors just reused the sculpt for Velociraptor Blue, which we have right here. Except for whenever they made the JP3 Raptor, which you may have already seen it, and they've basically redesigned the head and probably even the neck too, as it doesn't necessarily look the same as the neck on here. But they have changed the the JP3 Raptor's head has a lot less mobility in it than it did initially. But ever since the Amber collection had been discontinued, well, I honestly wasn't aware that it had been discontinued until the Hammond collection was revealed. So yeah, basically the Hammond collection was this new premium collector's line where it offered 3 3/4 inch scale figures of all the dinosaurs, which honestly is a pretty good decision on Mattel's part because now they can really say wide variety of dinosaurs, or like a little bit of biodiversity, if you will. And the thing is, a lot of these figures are pretty affordable, except for maybe the HC Brachiosaurus, as most of these figures are just a little bit more expensive than their mainline counterparts. Like, for example, starting off with the Hammond Collection Velociraptor, at the time it was released, it was about $13, plus taxes. And these were initially going to be Target exclusives after the whole Amber Collection thing ended being a GameStop exclusive. Which, I don't know why they even thought of putting it in GameStop. But that was back in 2019. Let's go to, like, 2022 with the Hammond Collection Velociraptor, which ironically, or coincidentally, if you will, my very first Amber Collection figure was the Amber Collection the Amber Collection JP Raptor. And I'm just now noticing that for some reason my Hammond Collection Raptor's tail can come off. Which, I don't know why it can do that. It's not meant to. But, I guess that's okay for storage purposes? I don't really know. But anyway, so these figures were pretty decent. They have a little bit less articulation that you would get on an Amber Collection figure, which is to be expected because it's at a smaller scale. But the legs on this one are pretty thin. While on the mainline figures, they were a little bit thicker. Not too thicker, but a little bit more thicker, you know. And this one is dummy thick in terms of the thighs, which I don't know why they would do that, as it worked perfectly fine for the mainline for the legs to spread apart. But who knows? But anyway, so the JP3, I keep confusing it for the JP3 Raptor. So the Hammond Collection JP Raptor, it's pretty decent. It was initially my favorite thing in the world. That was before some other Hammond Collection figures released. But it does indeed use blues sculpt, which I don't even know why. But it's probably just because it was remolded after the Amber Collection Raptor that had been released prior. So on one hand, that's kind of understandable, and the feet just are huge. I was actually thinking about buying another Raptor and then buying Marco's replacement parts and then put it on the other one. But I don't know if I'll ever do that, as they're pretty expensive. Like, I could buy like 2 of these for the price of just one pair of replacement feet and head. I'll shut up. But anyway, so the Raptor has pretty decent articulation. Not the best in the world, which we'll get into a change later, for the smaller figures at least. So for the JP Raptor, its mouth can open and close. Its head is on a ball joint, although it's not a good ball joint whatsoever. The ball joints are very huge on this thing in terms of the size of the figure itself, which I think is one of the reasons why it's so limited, is because they never do double ball joints. Like, if we take off the tail, they only ever use one ball joint, which I don't even know how that works properly, as I would think it would fail miserably, as a lot of premium figures have double ball joints, but somehow they managed to make it work. But anyways, the most my Hammond Raptor could do is just move up and down somewhat, and I guess move like that as well, ish. Mine just can't move left and right at all, in the base of the neck at least. I mean, there might as well just be a hinge joint in there, which no matter where it's positioned, it just can only go up and down. The arms can rotate a full 360 and can spread from the body, and the wrist can also move and rotate 360. Thighs can move and spread from the body. Knees can move and rotate 360. The feet can move and rotate a full 360. There isn't sickle claw articulation like the previous Amber Collection Raptors. Well, like the Amber Collection Raptors. But then again, it's smaller. And there's a ball joint in the tail. Don't be too completely reckless with it, otherwise the tail may come off, which I don't think you should be that concerned about. And there's also a bendy wire in the tail, although I do not like to bend them that much, as, well, for one, the material has a tendency to break, as metal can fatigue after many bends. And plus, they're using a denser material, which that's not even a point that I wanted to make. But yeah, I got mine from Target. It's now available on Amazon for a little bit more expensive, but it should normally be under $20, or you can find it on eBay for maybe even cheaper. I don't know. Anyway, setting that guy aside, let's move on to the Baryonyx. So the Baryonyx was one of the best figures that was released at the time, mainly because there was just only one wave of this figure. Well, one wave of the Hammond collection. You know, it was basically brand new. I ordered the Parasaurolophus and the Baryonyx for pre-order on Amazon whenever it was initially released on Amazon. And so, yeah. I do, for some reason, have complaints of almost every single figure here. Like, for one, I wish this thing had better neck articulation. And, yeah. And for the baryonyx, I really wish that its head couldn't just go up and down. I wish it could, like, go left and right and whatnot. Although I guess I can technically do that with a very loose swivel-ish joint. I don't know. I just don't want it to go up and down all the time. Plus, it does feel like that it's on a ball joint in there, so I don't know why that would be prohibited. But anyway, so for the baryonyx and a lot of other medium theropods, the jaw can open that wide, and you can potentially make it open really wide. The head can go up and down, and the neck is on a ball joint. Arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. And the elbows can move and rotate 360. Thighs can move a full 360 and spread from the body. Knees can move and rotate a full 360. The ankles can move kind of tightly and rotate a full 360. And the feet can move and rotate a full 360. And one of my other complaints about this figure is that the swivel joints on the legs are very loose, and and that's like that for all my baryonyx, for all my previous baryonyxes. I actually had to go through like 3 of these. Because the first one had two left calves. So, automatic quality control issue. Then my second one came and it was a lot better. But, and then I need to get my third one, which I tried to order a Parasaurolophus, which is right here. But I ended up getting a baryonyx instead, which I don't know why. And for some reason, it had the Parasaurolophus label on it, which I don't know how that could be messed up. And I'm starting to think that there's like a whole batch of these that have been messed up, because I ordered the Parasaurolophus again to see if I could get the Parasaurolophus or if it would just be another baryonyx. And I got another baryonyx. So they definitely have a whole misprinted batch of baryonyxes that are ordered as Parasaurs, which I don't know how they couldn't just check this. Oh, I'm pretty sure they don't like check each individual order. I mean, billions of orders, billions of people order on Amazon like every single day. So, I mean, it's understandable. Okay, maybe millions of people to tone it down a little bit. Anyways, the tail is on a semi-loose-ish ball joint. It's a bit too easy to move. And again, the tail is also on wire, but then again, I don't want to bend it. So that's the Hammond Collection Baryonyx, and now it's time for the Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus, which is a pretty decent figure for the most part. The elbow articulation is a bit terrible. Well, it's actually pretty terrible-ish. And the jaw, that doesn't look good at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure it'd just be good with its mouth closed. So, yeah. And for some reason, this figure does not have feet articulation, which I don't know why it doesn't even have that. I mean, the Baryonyx had feet articulation. Why couldn't the Parasaurolophus have feet articulation? And the tail on this one is just really short. Like, it's not even as long as my hand. Like, it barely even reaches my palm. So, yeah, I have a few complaints with this figure. This might actually be one of the worst figures released in this wave, but certainly not the worst figure ever released from this collection. But the head articulation is indeed a bit better than the Baryonyx is. As we've already established earlier, there's the jaw articulation, which it looks hideous. Head is on a ball joint and can rotate a full 360. And the neck is also on a ball joint. Elbows can rotate a full 360 and can spread from the body. Well, arms can move and elbows can move and rotate a full 360. Thighs can move a full 360 and spread from the body. So can the knees and the feet. And the tail is on a much tighter ball joint than the Baryonyx. And again, aforementioned bendy wire. Now, for some reason, mine has stains on its tail, which I don't know why it even has stains on it. Like, there's one very noticeable stain right there, and there's another one, I think, at the base of the tail. So yeah, I'm really hoping that eventually Mattel will re-release the Parasaurolophus, maybe with added feet articulation and a longer tail. But knowing that so far there hasn't been a single re-release, well, that's not true, which I'll get into in a bit. Knowing that there's barely been any re-releases, I don't think they'll re-release this guy or the Hammond Collection Raptor. So, yeah. Now that we're done with that wave, let's move on to Wave 2. Now, Wave 2 is a bit of a really huge disappointment. It has released among some of the worst Hammond Collection figures released thus far. And I just really do not like this wave. Because first of all, it released such a hideous monstrosity known as the Triceratops. It released a problematic Rexy. It released a okay Ceratosaurus. And the only other good thing that they've released, which I initially didn't like, was the Gallimimus, which we will look at first. So, here we have the Gallimimus, and they initially had ball joints, like I said earlier, but ever since then they replaced the ball joints for the small figures with these hinge joints, kind of like how they did for the Amber Collection Pteranodon, although it's for some of the new small dinosaurs, which at first I didn't really like this change because it couldn't look left and right, although you can technically make them look left and right, just kind of unnaturally. But I came to actually really like this because it provides a lot more range for the figure instead of just those huge ball joints inside of the figure. And, yeah. My biggest problems with this figure is that it's really orange for one. Like, the Gallimimus is supposed to be beige, Mattel. It's not supposed to be orange. And also, the mouth is kind of hideous on it. And the tail is kind of odd, because when it's planted down like that, that's the maximum it can go down. And I don't know why they do that, although probably just for a little bit more range. But yeah. And the feet are absolutely massive on this thing. Like, I'm pretty sure this thing has the biggest feet to body ratio. Like, I can even make it stand on one foot. That's not a joke. It's actually standing on one foot. Oh, and that's just polymorph plastic that's been reused over and over again. Before you assume that I have some sort of green, gross ball of turd or whatever. But anyway, so for articulation, the Gallimimus has jaw articulation, which is ew. Let's just close that. It has very decent head articulation and can rotate a full 360. Neck can go up and down and rotate a full 360. Arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. And so can the elbows. Mine's arms can actually come off with not that much force, actually, which is starting to become very concerning, because even though that the Hammond Collection is recommended for 8-year-olds, they can still probably pull that off easily, and then potentially eat the arm and then choke on it. Legs can rotate a full 360. It's not as dummy thick as the Velociraptor, but still, it's a lot better than the Raptor, actually. Although this leg seems to be thicker than this leg, which I don't know how that's possible. And the knees can move and rotate a full 360, and the ankles can move and rotate a full 360. And this is so far the only other small dinosaur in the line with ankle articulation, excluding the Hammond Collection Baby Rex, which is the only small dinosaur in the line to have full leg articulation that isn't already a medium-sized theropod. And the tail is also on a ball joint and is also on a bendy wire. So that's that. So, and then we got the Ceratosaurus, which Ceratosaurus, it's okay. I mean, it's not the best figure in the world. I don't necessarily have that many problems with it. Now, the Gallimimus is somewhat rare now, which I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it would have been pretty common, but so is the Ceratosaurus. It's for some reason pretty rare. But yeah, I don't necessarily have a lot of complaints with this figure. The tail on it, though, it does feel pretty short to me. Kind of wish that the tail would be a little bit longer. I mean, I know it's like the same length as the Baryonyx's. Actually, let me test that theory. And the Baryonyx appears to be a little bit longer. Hold on. Okay, so the Baryonyx tail is a little bit longer, but only like a centimeter or two. But then again, I kind of wish that the tail was a bit longer, because it just feels unreasonably short. And I had to actually tighten this thing's tail by precisely putting super glue on its ball joint whilst the tail was still on, because it felt concerningly loose. And the lower jaw articulation feels pretty loose on it as well. At least it can still hold it. But anyway, so for articulation, the thing's jaw can open and close. The neck and head are on a ball joint, which is somewhat better than the Baryonyx's, but still not the best one so far. The arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. Elbows can move and rotate a full 360. Thighs can move and rotate a full 360. Knees can move, ankles can move, and the feet can move. Tails on a ball joint, and again, bendy wire. So, yeah. This figure is okay for the most part. And now let's move on to one of the worst figures in this line. The Hammond Collection Triceratops, or as I should say, the mainline Triceratops with some glorified articulation and no real action feature. Because this figure is just awful. Like, it's just very lackluster. It's just, I mean, it's just, this thing is just stupid. I mean, honestly, the fact that this thing was even being sold for $20, which now the figures are $22, maybe because of inflation, well, probably because of inflation. The fact that this thing was being sold for even $20, it maybe even on clearance for like $15 or something, that's just a straight up ripoff, because this thing is just the most lackluster figure in this line. Because for one, it doesn't have good head articulation. There's no jaw articulation on the figure. The leg articulation is just shitty on this thing. It can't even spread that well. Well, I mean, it can spread kind of well, but still, you get my point. And the legs can also barely spread. And again, that's bad. And it has a very crappy double segmented tail, and it's just, ugh. And just, so yeah, overall, I don't recommend this figure, and I wouldn't buy it for any price that it's going for right now, unless someone's selling it out there for like $3 at the max. So let's just get rid of that thing. Now let's move on to a not as rip-off worthy, but still treacherous Rexy. So initially, I thought this figure was cool and whatnot, but I came to realize that this figure is a lot more problematic than it seems. Because for one, look at those glass eyes. It may look normal now, but at a certain angle, it just looks possessed. In fact, it looks possessed a lot. which yes, the concept of glass eyes is cool, but that's only if you're using real glass. They're just using translucent plastic. Well, transparent plastic. They have re-released this figure to have better glass eyes and maybe some slight changes to the paint. But this is just still a pathetic excuse for a T-Rex figure. I mean, currently it's one of the best Hammond collection. Well, it's one of the best articulated Rex figures that we have out there in terms of Jurassic Park Rexes. But still, this thing is just a hunk of junk. Because for one, the jaw's on a ratchet joint, which mine's is much more loose now. But still, why is it even on a ratchet joint? And the cheeks, or the muscles, or whatever you call them, they're just crappy rubber. I mean, I think this is even worse than the Amber Collection material. In fact, this may even be the Amber Collection Raptors material. And the tongue is just awful. I mean, it's very loose. It can't even go up that well. And it's just, ugh. Teeth are really blunt, and I think this thing is a late bloomer because most of the teeth's length can be seen inside of the mouth and not outside of it. And again, that aforementioned glass eye, it's very terrible most of the time. It sometimes looks good, but then again, a lot of times it looks possessed. And the head articulation is just sculpted hideously. I really don't like this whatsoever. And the neck articulation is another terrible thing about it. I mean, it can barely even move up and down. It's like the Jurassic Park Raptor, albeit a lot worse. And her torso is just awful. I mean, you could either have it neutral or all the way up. And the arm articulation is just awful on this thing as well. I mean, it has the chopping Rex posability, which the arms just move left and right. Like, why does it do that? Is it supposed to look like it's trying to grab someone or something? And the arm articulation is just crappy too. I mean, there's some extra bit of plastic right there that just prevents it from moving any further down. Like, why is it even there? And the legs are just awful. I mean, they're kind of good for one, but then again, she has tumors for knees, and she only looks good in like one pose. And even then, that pose makes her look very short, and it's just, ugh. And then there's this one, and giant clown feet, this foot is probably bigger than a baby's hand. It's that bad. And this figure's tail is on a ball joint, which I had to tighten. And there's this other ball joint, and the tail. This is one of the worst tails on any Hammond collection figure because it just doesn't bend well at all. And that's about the most I could do for it. So, yeah. No thanks to any future Hammond Collection Rexes, unless it's the Hammond Collection Buck Rex. But anyways, enough of looking at this atrocious wave. Now let's move on to Wave 3. Yes, believe it or not, these are the only figures released for Wave 3. And let's just start off with Ellie Sattler. Now, I never collect any of the humans in this line, and I don't know why. I just don't necessarily collect them. I don't have any interest towards the humans, as, well, you can obviously tell. And the only other reason I have gotten these humans, for one, I got the JP3 Alan Grant because it came with the female raptor for the playset. And I got this one because it was on clearance for like $4. And I got Ray Arnold because my mother thought that I needed a Samuel L. Jackson figure in my collection. But yeah, I definitely have made the right decision to not get any of the humans. Because for one, their articulation isn't the best. Their heads can just rotate a full 360, no swivel or anything. Well, they can swivel, but no good ball joints. Arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. Elbows can move, wrists can move, which I don't get why that is. If the humans' wrists can move, why can't the dinosaurs' wrists can move? I mean, Ellie's and the Dilo's wrists are about the same width. I mean, the Dilo's may just be a bit thinner, but then again, still, why? And there's also torso articulation, which is okay, I guess. And the legs are kind of the worst thing on here, especially the double knee joint for all the humans. And ew, that just looks gross. And the feet can move and rotate 360. Which, yeah, I don't necessarily adore the humans. And now here is the Hammond Collection Dilophosaurus, and it's a pretty rare figure now. Which, I don't know why it became rare now. What is it with all these premium Dilophosaurs? The Amber Collection Dilophosaurus is just about one of the rarest Amber Collection figures in this line. And the Hammond Collection Dilophosaurus is also very rare. But anyways, so yeah. This figure is pretty nice. Actually might be one of my favorite small dinosaurs from this line. But anyways, so this figure comes with an interchangeable frill that I don't necessarily like to use ever, because, well, I mean, what's the point even including a interchangeable frill, which I'll just pull that out right now. It's this thing, which, yes, that's the interchangeable frill. And as you can see, it looks quite hideous, so we're just going to put that back inside the accessory egg. But this figure has pretty decent articulation. It's about the same as the JP Raptor, but I guess better in a way. The mouth can open and close. It's kind of tight and a little bit limited because of the frill, but not too limited. The frill can just rotate a full 360, although it's probably not. Although it can move, I don't think it's meant to be moved in some sort of dynamic display or whatever. Head is on a hinge joint and can go up and down and rotate a full 360. So can the neck. Which, my complaint about the figure is that the neck seems a bit long. Anyway, so the arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. And the elbows can, which the elbows just feel very cheap and whatnot. Thighs can spread and rotate a full 360. Knees can move and rotate a full 360. And the feet can move and rotate a full 360. And the tail is on a ball joint, which I don't know why, but I can feel a click in it for some reason. Let's watch this. Yeah, I don't know why. And the tail is also on a bendy wire. And that officially is the Hammond collection for 2022. Now let's move on to 2023, starting off with Wave 1 of 2023. Now, this wave has the most figures released in it, with about 7 figures, including Ray Arnold and Robert Muldoon. Although Wave 2 of 2023 has released has released the same amount of figures. This is the most figures I have in a single wave. Which, I know I had the complete waves, not counting the humans, but still. Pretty big amount of characters, or dinosaurs. So we're going to start off with the Ray Arnold. And again, we already went through this. This is just meh. And also the material that the pants are made out of is very crappy, because you can probably see it, but it's starting to crack right there, and it does that whenever it's moved too far, especially on here, which that's just terrible. So yeah, that's a bit of a letdown. So let's just get him out of here, and let's move on to the Concavinator. Now the Concavinator, it's a bit iffy because for one, it had showed up on Amazon at around like December of 2022, but then again, not a lot of people got it until the following year. So I'm just including it in this wave 1 for 2023 because why not? But you can still order it on Amazon, I believe. I believe it's still being sold for its regular price. And if not, then I don't know why. But I also think... But you can also find it at some Targets. I haven't found it in any Targets lately. But who knows? They are on clearance at Target, so if your Target has them, then now is the best time to get one. So the Hammond Collection Concavinator is actually pretty decent. So far, it's the only other medium-sized theropod to have wrist articulation, which for some reason they haven't made this a continuing trend for all the other medium theropods. Well, so far the Irritator and Metriacanthosaurus, and even the Carnotaurus. But yeah, this figure has the best neck articulation out of them all, because it has a lot more dynamic posability than all the other ones. Which, speaking of the articulation, let's move on to it. So the jaw can open and close. Arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. Elbows can move and rotate a full 360. Wrists can move and rotate a full 360. Some wrist articulation is better than others. This one has the most decent one. Legs can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body. The hump on here is made out of probably the same material as this stuff. And my complaint about it is that it doesn't align here, which I don't know why that's the case. Anyway, so the knee can also move and rotate a full 360. The ankles can move and rotate a full 360, and the feet can move and rotate a full 360. Tail's on a ball joint, and then again there's bendy wire in there. So yeah, that's the Concavinator. Now let's move on to the Hammond Collection Geosternbergia. This figure is not in its best shape, as you can see in the neck. And the wings, whenever you spread them apart. Now, getting a Geosternbergia from Target, if you don't already have one, is without a doubt the best time to get one. Because some are on clearance for as low as $7, but most of the time it's on clearance for about $11. And I think you could still get this figure on Amazon. So if you don't have a Geosternbergia and if you want it, you should definitely get it now. But anyways, this figure is definitely a major improvement from the Hammond Collection Pteranodon. Although, still, my complaints about it is that the wings seem really thick on this figure, which I know there has to be some room for the wire. But then again, I mean, the wings could at least be a little bit thinner. And the legs are just the most confusing thing on this figure. Like, how are they supposed to bend? I mean, this is my best guess so far. But the material definitely does feel better on this figure than the Hammond Collection Pteranodon. To begin which, for articulation, the mouth can open and close. Head can move up and down and rotate a full 360, so can the neck. Although it doesn't rotate in a full 360 that well. Wings can move up and down. There's wire in the wings, and the fingers can also move and rotate a full 360. The legs can move a full 360 and can move up and down, I guess, or left and right. I don't know how this is supposed to work. And the knees, I'd assume, move and rotate a full 360, and the feet move and rotate a full 360. So, yeah, that's this figure. And now let's move on to the Hammond collection and Ankylosaurus. Now this figure has a pretty bad quality control issue, for mine at least. Because mine's jaw, it looks kind of hideous. But anyways, it's a relatively decent figure. I mean, the legs feel pretty short on this thing. The legs can barely move that well. And it's just, yeah. But anyway, so then the head is on a ball joint and can move full 360, so can the neck. The jaw can open, which again looks pretty hideous, and close. Now, for some reason, they opted for the hard plastic for all these bumps on the back when usually they do a softer plastic, I'd assume. I know they don't really do a softer plastic for the spines on the side of them, which they did for this time. But I don't know if they usually do the bumps on the back with the hard plastic, which I don't think is a good decision on their part, because someone can probably easily be killed with this thing. Like, if it wasn't considered a toy, it would probably be considered a weapon, considering the fact that this thing is hard and it actually hurt my uncle. But anyway, so the legs can spread from the body not that well. May actually even be worse than the HC trike. And the elbows can move and rotate a full 360, so can the feet, although not that well. Same deal with the legs, and the tail is multi-segmented this time, as opposed to just wire. So the multi-segmentation is okay. Not the best one, but I mean, it's what we got. So, yeah. And moving on, we got the JP3 Raptor, which this figure looks strange, to say the least. I think it actually gained a name by the community real quickly, and it was Quilliam. And it just, the quills on it look more like growths on its head, which I know that's what it is, but it looks like some sort of bumps instead of just quills. And one thing for sure is this is definitely a massive downgrade from the Amber Collection Raptor. But anyway, so for articulation, the mouth can open and close. The head can move up and down and rotate a full 360, well, so can the neck. You can even make it into this abomination, which I've actually made it into this abomination quite a few times. Arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body, so can the elbows. Thighs can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body, not that well, actually. Knees can move and rotate 360, so can the feet, and the tail, and there's a wire in there. And this one's tail doesn't come off that easily. So, at least I have one raptor that doesn't have a tail that can come off easily. So yeah, get that out of here. Let's move on to the Pachycephalosaurus, another pretty good small dinosaur. And you can also get this figure for clearance on Target for like $8. Well, that is if you go to the clearance aisle at some of your Targets. I don't know where you live, so you might want to check a lot of your Targets if you want this guy and you don't already have him. Or if you want to get more and build like a whole herd of these things, but you haven't done it yet, you should definitely get them while they're on sale now or while they're on Amazon. Because these figures are bound to disappear pretty soon. But anyway, so for articulation, the mouth can open, which is actually the least hideous one out of all of them. It doesn't even look hideous, actually. And the head can move up and down and rotate a full 360, so can the neck. The arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body, so can the elbows. This figure has really human-like hands, which I don't know why. I have a few Pachycephalosaurus figures that are depicted with five digits. I don't know if the Pachycephalosaurus had that in real life, but ugh. Legs can spread from the body and rotate a full 360. Knees can move and rotate a full 360. And the feet can move and rotate a full 360. And the tail's on a ball joint, and then again there's a wire in there. So, yeah, that's that. And now let's move on to Wave 2 of 2023, including the Brachiosaurus. So this is definitely a pretty decent wave of figures. Not the best wave, but then again, still a pretty decent wave. We already saw the human articulation for this figure, so let's just get him out of here. And for the Raptor, it's basically the same. It's just all that. And the Metriacanthosaurus, it then again has the same articulation. It has a jaw that can open pretty wide, neck that can look up and down, arms can rotate a full 360 and spread from the body, so can the elbows. Thighs can spread and rotate a full 360. Knees can move knees can move somewhat. I actually need to loosen that up a little bit. And rotate a full 360. Ankles can move and feet can move and rotate a full 360. Tail can also move and rotate a full 360. Well, on a ball joint. And there's a wire in the tail. Now, mine's tail and a lot of the other Metri's tails are hunched over like this, and I don't know why. It looks kind of weird, and I don't like it that much. And now let's take a look at the Brachiosaurus. So the Brachiosaurus can actually fit on my table, which is surprising. Although it basically takes up the entire circumference of the table. And I'm actually trying to film this pretty strategically because my closet is basically a mirror, and we can't have a face reveal on this channel. I've already shown my face too many times, and I'm currently working on privating those. Well, deleting them actually, because, you know, pretty cringy. But anyways, let's just take a closer look at this guy. So here we have the neck, and, yeah. The glass eyes, they're my biggest complaint of this figure. First of all, this figure looks like it has a mustache, likely a pedophile mustache. And the glass eyes are pretty awful. I mean, the glass eyes do look amazing-ish. Sorry for that. They do look amazing, although they would look more amazing if I could actually see them. But anyways, the jaw can open, and it looks okay inside, but I don't know why I'm... Head's on a ball joint, and the neck can move. There's like 3 segments inside of this rubber sleeve, I'd assume. But then again, it's just pretty awful, and I'd rather not move it. Plus, it gets all wrinkled and just looks ugly. The neck can also move down and up, and the neck can also swivel. And it's just going to be like that for the rest of this video. The leg is also on a hinge joint, and the knee and the elbows can move and rotate a full 360. So can the feet, and so can the legs can move and rotate a full 360, and the knees and the feet. The tail is on a giant hinge joint, and it can move up and down. It can also rotate a full 360. The tail is on a very tight ball joint. And the tail and the end of and the end of the tail is on a swivel joint, which I don't necessarily like the swivel joints alone. Like just the joints that can rotate a full 360. It just seems really generic and pretty cheap. I kind of wish they would have added some wire to this figure, if any. But anyways, yeah, that is my entire Hammond collection, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and goodbye.